Asterisk, it was a bright Monday morning, and the luxurious villa of Mr. Richard Kane buzzed with quiet activity. Kane, a self-made millionaire, liked everything in his home perfect: the polished marble floors, the crystal vases, and even the fresh lily in the hallway. For him, perfection wasn't just a preference. It was a demand. Maria, the maid, had been working for the Kane family for nearly 3 years. She was polite, hardworking, and rarely complained, even when her back ached from scrubbing floors or her hands turned raw from washing dishes. She needed the job to support her younger siblings and pay for her mother's medicine. That morning, Maria was dusting the shelves in the living room when Richard walked in, already irritated from a phone call. He had been arguing with a business partner, and his temper was running hot. Maria, he barked. Why is the coffee not ready? And look at that, you missed a spot on the shelf. Are you even paying attention? Maria turned, startled by his sudden outburst. I'm sorry, sir. I was just but before she could finish, Richard's voice cut through the air like a whip. Shut up and work. I don't pay you to talk. Just do your job and keep quiet. The word stung. Maria's cheeks flushed, and she quickly lowered her eyes to hide the hurt in them. She had been spoken to harshly before, but something about the way he said it, cold, dismissive, as if she were less than human, pierced her deeply. Richard didn't notice, or perhaps he didn't care. He poured himself a drink, muttering about lazy workers and people who can't follow simple instructions. To him, it was just another morning of getting what he wanted when he wanted it. Maria turned back to her work, her hands moving automatically while her mind drifted elsewhere. She thought about the sacrifices she'd made to be here, the dignity she had swallowed just to keep this job. She thought about how people like Richard assumed wealth gave them the right to belittle others. In the hallway, Mrs. Kane overheard the exchange and frowned. She had never liked her husband's arrogance, but she had long ago stopped confronting him about it. Still, she felt a flicker of sympathy for Maria. Meanwhile, Richard was already checking his watch, preparing to head to a meeting. In his mind, Maria's feelings were irrelevant. She was just the help. Little did he know, the next few minutes would shake his arrogance to its core. For now. The room was filled only with the sound of a cloth wiping over polished wood, and the unspoken tension between a man who thought he owned the world and a woman who had far more power than he could imagine. Richard Kane stepped into his sleek black Mercedes, his mind already racing with numbers and contracts. The meeting he was heading to wasn't just any meeting, it was with the new majority shareholder of his company. Rumors had been swirling for days about this mysterious investor who had quietly bought up controlling shares. Richard was eager to assert his influence and prove he was still the man in charge. As the car rolled through the city, Richard rehearsed his usual charm, the firm handshake, the confident smile, the persuasive tone. He was certain that whoever this new investor was, they would be impressed by his track record. 20 minutes later, Richard walked into the boardroom, straightening his tie. The room was filled with executives, but all eyes were on the tall back chair at the head of the table. Slowly it turned, and there sat Maria. Richard froze. It took him a moment to register what he was seeing. Maria, the maid he had yelled at not an hour ago, was dressed in an elegant navy suit. Her posture was confident, her expression calm, but there was a quiet power in her gaze that made Richard's stomach twist. Mr. Kane, she said evenly, please, have a seat. His mouth went dry. Maria, what how? She folded her hands. Yesterday, my lawyer finalized the transfer of my inheritance. My late uncle was a major shareholder in this company. As of this morning, I own 51% of Asterisk. The board members shifted uncomfortably, some hiding their smirks. Richard's usual authority seemed to drain from him as the reality sank in. Asterisk. Maria continued, her voice steady. When I worked in your home, I noticed the way you treated people. I stayed quiet because I needed the income. But now, I'm in a position to make sure this company values respect for everyone, from the boardroom to the janitor's closet. Asterisk. Richard swallowed hard. Maria, I'm sorry about earlier. I wasn't thinking. I was upset about something else and asterisk. Stop, Maria said, not unkindly. I'm not interested in excuses. I just want you to understand that power isn't about how much money you have or how loud you can shout. It's about how you treat people. Asterisk. For once, Richard had no clever reply. The man who never bowed to anyone found himself leaning forward, his tone pleading. Please, Maria, forgive me. I truly regret what I said. Asterisk. She studied him for a moment, then gave a small nod. Forgiveness is possible, Mr. Kane, but respect is earned. From this moment on, you work for me. And I expect your best without the insults. Asterisk. The room was silent. Richard nodded stiffly, the humiliation stinging sharper than any business loss he'd ever endured. Asterisk. Maria turned her attention to the rest of the board. Now let's get to work. Asterisk. In that instant, the balance of power shifted forever. And Richard Kane learned that you never know who you're talking down to.